The Enterprise Edition is an application server written using the Standard Edition. The application server hosts various containers, such as a web container, which was where Java servlets and Java server pages and other related standards that are part of the web container area would run. There is an enterprise Java Beans server, which would host enterprise Java Beans, as well as a specific type of EJB that connects to the Java messaging service. And of course, everything that's in the Standard Edition is available in the Enterprise Edition, although there are certain features such as threading for parallel processing that are reserved for use by the Java EE app server and not allowed to regular developer code in that specific environment. The Java EE API is an umbrella that is vast. It includes support for database connectivity through JDBC, remote method invocations, what in other languages we would consider an RPC call, remote procedure call, the ability for a client to invoke a function that's actually running somewhere else. There is Java naming and directory interface. This is a layer allowing us to do lookups, such as with an LDAP server or even a regular directory server. There are extensions to JDBC that are specific for Java EE. There are EJBs, servlets, which provide web interface. Technically, if you read, you'll find that the servlet API was supposed to be agnostic to what protocol, but it is almost exclusively used for the HTTP protocol. Java server pages, a way of writing HTML with embedded references to Java so that page designers can produce beautiful looking interactive web pages without reliance on Java code. In modern Java EE use, we're moving further and further away from the use of any view technology such as JSPs or Java server faces or anything else. And we are working in a world where it's more going to be something like Java EE delivering an Angular front end into the browser, and then that Angular front end will be communicating back to servlets to transfer data. If you're in a environment which supports asynchronous messaging over some sort of backbone, such as Tibco or IBM MQ or related, that is what JMS is for. JMS does for messaging what JDBC does for databases. It is a vendor-neutral messaging API that sits on top of a vendor-specific provider. That's the driver. Just again, following that same notion of vendor neutrality, there's JTA, a Java Transaction API. We don't care what transaction manager you're using. That is the job of the layer between the standard API and the vendor-specific transaction manager. There is a framework in Java for dealing with SMTP and IMAP and POP called Java Mail. Java Mail, you might have attachments that are MIME types. The Java Activation Framework, odd name, but what it really talks about is how to handle MIME types in Java. That's the standard way. There are many other frameworks for dealing with MIME, arguably better than JAF, but JAF is the original and standardized way of doing it. For parsing XML, there's JAX-P. There are many different parsers. They all had their own APIs. JAX-P is the standard API that we would now expect a parser to provide support for. Whether it was be Crimson or Xerces, we would expect JAX-P support. Java Connector Architecture is a way of describing how to manage connections going outbound or inbound. In many app servers, JDBC and JMS both use JCA under the covers to manage connection pools, to understand when there's an incoming message connection, where does it get routed, and other sorts of behavior. So Java Connector Architecture would talk to those various aspects. Finally, in the security area, we have Java Authentication and Authorization Service, which has often been described as PAM for Java. It is an extensible, pluggable module that allows us to talk about not where did the code come from and does it have the right signatures, so I'll allow it to run it all, but it allows me to talk about who is the user, what groups are they in, what rights might they have. So that is the purpose of JAS. How do I log in a standard way? And also, how do I authorize for individual users?